talk about our intro. Hey everyone, I'm Joe.
And I'm Gabby.
And welcome to our first ever episode of Whine and Whine. And this is just going to be a little podcast / video where we talk about all things mental health that we, experience on a daily basis.
And we'll also be sharing what wines we're drinking, what we recommend, what we like.
Yeah, and so today our topic is Imposter Syndrome. And we go all in with stories and tips and tricks. But obviously this isn't a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah, so disclaimer, neither of us are wine experts. Neither of us are experts in mental... No. You are, though.
Well...
Neither of us are experts in imposter syndrome specifically, and
Yeah.
neither of us are experts in your life. No one is an expert on your life other than you. So take what you see here, cut it up, pick up what you like the best, and throw out whatever doesn't fit.
Yep. So let's get it on.
Oh.
Freaky.
Alright, guys.
Alrighty.
So today I'm drinking a Pinot Grigio from Barefoot.
And I am drinking, is it sparkling Moscato from Cupcake?
Oh my gosh, wait, mine's from Cupcake.
What did you say?
I said Barefoot. That's embarrassing.
Is it not Barefoot?
No, it's Cupcake.
Oh, this whole time I was thinking it's Barefoot because of the bottle.
I'm right. And we're gonna whine about imposter syndrome.
We're gonna whine about imposter syndrome.
So, I don't know. I know that I was thinking about it recently, about imposter syndrome. So, those of you that don't know, I'm a personal trainer, and you have to be certified, obviously, to legally train people. But even though I'm certified, and even though I have, like, a bachelor's degree in, like, what I'm talking about, I always feel like every trainer knows more than me. And while I understand that every person you meet can teach you something, and you can always be learning, I just feel like everyone is better than me.
Yeah.
And, like,
I
always
that.
feel not quite good enough.
Ooh, well, I'm now an assistant supervisor at my company, and we work with kids on the spectrum. And I'm the same way. Obviously, I also got my bachelor's in psychology, and I've been working here for 2 years. I only work here. I've been working at this job for 2 years, and that doesn't sound like it's a lot, but I feel like I've been doing this job for so long just because of how much I love it and how much fun it is. It just feels like I've never done anything else but this. But still, I'm even as assistant supervisor, I recently took my test to be going to my training and completing my training and stuff like that. I took a test to make sure that I know what I'm doing and I learned from my training. And the whole time I was nervous. I was like, what if I actually don't know what I'm doing? I've been doing this for a couple months. I've been an assistant supervisor since February. But even now, I'm constantly I'm doing something wrong. There's no way that
Yeah, and it just feels like a constant uphill battle. It's once you finally feel okay, I'm getting a handle on things, I'm understanding what's going on, and then something happens, and it can be something small.
Right.
Someone can, call you out on something, and then it, everything just falls apart.
Yes! Oh my gosh, recently I was, saying goodbye to my supervisors, but they were, in the office, and so I, knocked and opened the door, and they were both just, chatting, and it looked like they were in the middle of, a serious conversation, and I was like, oh my gosh, what are you guys talking about? And one of them jokingly was we're just talking about how terrible you're doing. And obviously that's a joke. That's, how we, talk to each other. It's, sarcastic and funny and joking, but then literally throughout the night, I was like, what if there's something wrong that I'm doing?
No, I have something like that happened to me, too. I was telling my manager about how, I messed up one time. Or, actually, what happened was I dropped a weight on my foot and I broke my toe. And
that was on your birthday.
On my birthday.
Yay.
And I was my manager, I looked at him and he had this look on his face how did this girl get hired? And I called him out for it. I'm I know what you're thinking. You're wondering how I got this job. And he was we're not even gonna open that can of worms. And even though he said it as a joke, in my head I thought oh my gosh, he genuinely thinks that I should not have gotten this job. And I don't know if that's true or not. It probably isn't, because he does, like, he tells me I'm doing a good job and he wants me to do well. But that whole day I was like, he does not think I should have this job.
If you're Gabby's manager, send us like an anonymous message telling us if you really think, like, I won't tell her. It'll be anonymous.
Like, with that too, even, it's like my imposter syndrome. Like, one day, I told you this, I cried in front of him once because we were like role playing what it would be like meeting a new client, and I could tell I wasn't doing a good job, and he was like, all right, this is what you need to do. And he was in like a bad mood, and it wasn't because of me, it was because of other things going on that day.
Right.
And so his tone was just a little bit more harsh than I was used to, so I started crying, and he was like, why are you crying? Like, the reason we're spending time on you and we want you to improve is because we know that you have the capability to do well. If we thought that you had no potential, we wouldn't be spending time with you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're only saying that because I'm crying now. And
right. You just feel bad, so now you have to say this. I was working on like a report for a kid, so obviously we have to like write reports to tell the insurance like what we've been working on and prove to the insurance that like these kids need this, they need to be here, they need to receive services from us in order to like be more independent and like do more things on their own and be a more productive member of society. And so I was like writing up the report for like a section of the report for my kid, and I was like, please tell me if I'm doing something wrong, because like these are the same people that tell like you, like they tell me like, hey, you're doing a really good job, like you're on the right track. And I feel like, I don't know, like they've just never given me like enough criticism, like constructive criticism, that I'm constantly like, there must be something wrong that I'm doing that they just don't want to tell me because they don't want to hurt my feelings. Like, there must be something.
It's like that enemy in your head that you need to just shut up sometimes.
Yeah.
And believe people.
Right,
you know?
yeah. I like listened to this true crime podcast, right, I told you. And they were talking about how our brain, so the true crime podcast I listened to is My Favorite Murder. If you like true crime, hit them up. They're really good. But they were talking about how, like, our brain doesn't reset. Like, it's like if you had, like, a traumatic childhood and your brain, like, learns how to, like, maneuver through that and, like, heal from that, cope from that, your brain doesn't update from that. It constantly is thinking that, like, you're in that fight or flight situation.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, and they also said that, like, your way of thinking isn't real. It's kind of confirming, like, your doubts about yourself. It's not really what you feel, not really what you're thinking. It's just like, yeah, you're right. Like, you're dumb. Yeah, you're right. You're worthless. Yeah, you're right. You're not supposed to be there. And it's so mean. I catch myself being so mean to myself sometimes in these situations, and I have to be like, no, like, stop it. So what do you do? Like, how do you keep that at bay?
Yeah, well, something that you just hinted at was that inner voice that you have, or that inner dialogue that you have with yourself. Like, if you find yourself being mean to yourself and, like, you're aware of it and you notice it, like, cut it out right there. Like, stop yourself. Like, I've found myself saying, like, oh my gosh, you're so dumb. And then I'll say that and be like, okay, no, you're not. Like, don't say that. You made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
I've said to myself sometimes, like, hey, that's not how we talk to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, I've yelled at myself for being mean to myself, which is so funny. And I remember when we were roommates, I said this too, where I was like, hey, stop being mean to my best friend.
Yeah, I still do that. I'll, like, catch myself and, like, hey, like, dude, that's my best friend you're talking to. Like, you better stop right now. It's just hard. I feel like once you get in that, like, spiral of, like, oh my gosh, I did this, which means I'm not good at this, which means I probably shouldn't be here, which means I should just go back to what I was doing, and it's just like a just non-stop spiral. I do get that it's, like, hard to snap out of it sometimes, but I feel like I've been doing a much better job with, like, calling myself out for it. Like, it is.
Calling yourself out is by no means easy. Like, it can be really difficult because it's kind of comforting to like let the spiral happen sometimes, because like you said, it's that reaffirming. And when you like reaffirm yourself, you get that little reward of like, oh, so I'm right.
You're right, yeah.
I was right about it. And then that spiral is just easy. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
It doesn't get disrupted by anything. So when you disrupt yourself, that's hard. So like push into that and press into what's difficult.
Right.
And know that it's worth it at the same time, even if it's, you know, the harder choice.
Yeah. I really love that you bring up like comfortable too, because that's so true. Like this whole thinking of like, it's what I'm used to, you know what I'm saying? Like it's what I've told myself for years and years, that like you need to do better because you're not doing well enough. Like you need to keep working on it because this isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And it's that like, I mean, it's not just for me to like, it's not just myself that I'm telling, it's like everyone around me. Like when I was growing up, obviously it's like that consistent, like, oh, you could do better. You know, it's never like, it was never, hey, you're doing so great, like keep working. It was like, I feel like you could have done that much better.
That's good, but...
Yeah, right, there's always that like, but after the, oh my gosh.
Something that you kind of just hinted at, which is like, when people compliment you or like give you praise, like learn to accept it. Because I know that was a big problem with me, and it still is. So every week we have a meeting where we start out with props and praise, where we'll say like, oh, so-and-so did a really good job and I want to thank them for doing this. And literally every single time someone has something nice to say about me, I physically feel like, physically in my core, something feels weird. I'm like, everyone's looking at me. I know it's about something good, but I don't want it. Like my body wants to reject it. So even taking that baby step of when someone says something good, say like, thank you. That's thank you. I deserve that, I guess. So even just that can make a world of a difference.
Yeah, it's so weird. I remember when we were on that cruise.
I'm sure a lot of cruise stories are gonna come up, so
I was just thinking of that, like that first night when we were like drunk, and I was like yelling at you like, you need to take a compliment, and like every single bad thing that you say about yourself, I'm gonna counter it with like 4 good things, and you were like, shut up. I haven't been doing that. Just because we haven't been around each other.
Yeah.
But here you go.
We're going to spend a lot of time together now. This is a promise to, I guess, both of you.
Yeah.
You.
And
you. You're going to be seeing a lot of us.
Yes. I've been telling that to my sisters too. Because a lot of us, like, it's so weird to think that a lot of people feel the same way. Because it's so easy to be like, it's literally just you. Like, no, it's just you, you're just weird, like, you're not, no one else feels the same way, like, you're alone in this, but then you, like, talk to people, and obviously my sisters and I are very close, we talk about it, and it's so weird hearing that they feel the same way with, like, their school, and my sister's cheerleading, and my cousin with his baseball, so I've been, like, so big on that, like, if you hear someone say something negative about like your sister or your cousin, like counter that with like so much more praise of like, yeah, whatever, forget that, but like look at how well your stance has improved, I don't know, baseball, or like look how well you're doing on your school, like you got a higher grade than usual. I feel like it definitely makes a big difference when it's also from someone else. It's like that constant reassurance of like, you're doing great, like it's not just you.
Absolutely. Not even just people that you know, but actually right before I came here, so I bought like the cookie dough, the bottle of wine. So at Walmart, there was only one girl on register, one, and there was like a ton of people.
Oh, I hate that.
So there's a guy who had like alcohol at self-checkout, so she had to like verify that he could buy it over there. And then the phone was ringing over here, and then there was a lady standing off to the side that needed help, but she was also ringing up other people. And so I could tell that she was stressed out and she was freaking out. And so I told her, I was like, I just want you to know you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Because like she, in her head, was probably thinking like, this girl's mad at me because she had to wait. That lady's mad at me because she had to wait.
Yeah.
The person on the phone is mad because I can't answer the phone.
Right.
And so be nice. I guess like just spread kindness to everyone, including yourself and the people that you know, the people that you don't know. Like that small act of kindness, I hope made her day. Like, I hope it made her shift a little bit easier.
Yeah. At times that my supervisor would be like, you're doing a great job, by the way, and I'm automatically like,
well, maybe that's how it starts. Maybe like if it's hard accepting compliments first, maybe try giving them away first.
Right.
And, like, complimenting other people.
Yeah.
And once that becomes a natural, like, habit, then maybe the accepting of good constructive criticism or, like, good compliments will become easier. I fully believe in, like, what, you know, goes out comes back, you know.
Definitely, so yeah. The universe sees and hears that. So
absolutely.
Comes back.
Yeah, but getting Stop.
We're turning this into
She's
an
trying to ASMR right now.
Half ASMR, half therapy.
I guess to summarize how to get over imposter syndrome, it would be like...
Stop.
That's it. That's all you have to do. Just literally stop.
Have some wine. And stop. This is the thing. This is also the thing where it's like, I feel like the smallest thing is like the make it or break it. Like me, like, because obviously at work as assistant supervisor, I do less like therapy, like direct therapy, and more like trying like lessons out, see like what the kids need help with, updating lessons, and like I always think that like, oh, this lesson note, if it's not perfect, then I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like, why is that? It's so weird. It's like this constant thought of like, if it's not perfect, like I need to get that out of my head. Like that word perfect should not
exist. It doesn't exist.
It should not
exist. It doesn't
exist.
In any facet of life. Mm-hmm. There's no perfect relationship.
Nope.
There's no perfect, like, body type or facial features or skin tone.
That's a conversation for another day.
That all had to do with body image, but there's no perfect, like, piece of writing. I don't know what you do, but, like, there's no perfect essay for all you students out there. Like, there's always going to be someone who, also, there's always going to be someone who loves it and then someone who absolutely hates it. And you can never please anyone. One thing I read once was, like, stop trying to get everyone to like you because you don't even like everyone. And it's that's so true. Like, why do I need the approval of every single person when I don't even approve of every single person?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even, mathematically, it doesn't even make sense. So get out of your head that, like, everything has to be perfect in everyone's eyes because it will never be.
Yeah. And I definitely agree that, like, calling yourself out on those little things, it's such a big step. Because ever since I've started calling myself out, I'm like, dude, it's a lesson note. Like, you can correct it if there was something missing. If there's something that's been left out or something that's wrong, they will let you know. So then it's like, it's fine. You're fine. And I think that just, like, inner, like, narrative and inner voice that you have that's constantly, like, this, you need to, like, do this better. Like, making yourself aware to those, like, kinds of, like, that kind of conversation in your head, it's such a big thing. Because I'm definitely less inclined to be like, ugh, yikes, like, that's gross.
It's not to say that, like, your environment doesn't play a role in it, because it does. Like, who is ever, like, your superior, whether it's your boss, your manager, whoever, like, they have a role in giving you constructive criticism, not just criticism. Yeah. Like, the props and praise that they give you also need to be balanced by, like, good criticism that helps you grow and doesn't just tear you down. Yeah. So if you feel like you're in an environment or a workplace where you feel like you're constantly being beat up and that your imposter syndrome isn't just imposter syndrome, but it's actually, like, verbal abuse, then that might be an environment that you need to step away from. Yes. And again, that by no means is, like, easy. Right. None of this is easy, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it, but, like quick, quick, what's the word? Aside? Yeah. Tangent? A quick tangent, like, this isn't, I think we said it earlier, we're not experts. I'm a psych major, but I have no idea, I don't remember anything. But, like, this isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. You know, it's just us. Like, you're human, we're human, we're just trying to be human and accepting of the human experience. Yes, and sharing, like, what works for us, and you can share what works for you too. By the way, I got kind of that phrase, I don't know if they said that explicitly from the Just Break Up podcast. You guys are chef's kisses. It's so good. I don't know, like, it doesn't apply to you all that much just because, like, you're in a pretty stable relationship. I, on the other hand, am not.
Cut the cameras. I don't want to talk anymore.
So, yeah, they always just talk about, like, affirming, like, the human experience or not just crediting someone's experience. I don't know where I'm going with this at all, other than the fact that we're all human and we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yes.
And I think that's what every podcast is about. It's like, let's talk about something and hopefully
people will enjoy and listen.
Yeah, and hopefully it helps someone out a little bit. Oh, it's about, like, meeting people who are also in the same field as you. Yo, that's when the imposter syndrome comes out strong.
It's so bad.
Like, if I go to, like, another gym and I tell someone I'm a trainer and they're like, oh yeah, I am too. Suddenly it's like, I know nothing about training at all because I'm so scared that if I say something that they disagree with, then they're going to be like, she doesn't know anything.
Right, like, are you sure you're a trainer? Like, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, so meeting people in the same field is hard.
Yes, dude, I can't stop doing it, but there's 2 other, like, assistant supervisors at my work, and we all do the same thing. But every time I hear them talk, or, like, I don't even hang around them as much because then our, like, schedules are different. But every time I'm just around them, like, in their presence, I'm automatically like, nope, they're definitely way better, and they know more than I do, and they're doing a much better job, and I should step it up, and that I definitely haven't been calling myself out on. Like, that one's so easy to get lost in. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I didn't even think about that.
Yes.
That one's easy for me to be just, like, dive in, like, into my spiral, like, nope, nonstop.
Wish I had a piece of advice of how to, like, not do that, but here we are, struggling with it daily, just trying our best to keep our head above water.
I like to, maybe, like, I feel like definitely, like, I would need to call myself out more on that. But, like, hey, like, look at this thing that you did. Like, hey, your supervisor said you did this good thing, so that means you know what you're doing. And it's that thing that, like, I do know what I'm doing. Like, I keep telling myself I wouldn't be in this position if they didn't want me here.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be assistant supervisor if my supervisor was, like, definitely not a good fit, you know? Like, it's just a constant reminder of, like, dude, you're where you are because you deserve it. You're where you are because you worked hard for it.
And something that I say to, like, members or new clients about the company that I work at, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm just not going to say it. Also, I don't want people showing up at my work.
Hey,
assuming that we're going to be super famous. The thing that I always say to people is that, like, that group fitness class, like, is obviously a good class because if not, our company wouldn't put its name on it. Our company would not put our name on any supplements, any services, any products, any merchandise that we didn't believe was a good fit or of high quality. It's like everyone has that imposter syndrome of, I must be doing it wrong. Can someone please tell me that I'm doing it wrong to reaffirm that I'm doing it wrong?
Right. What if we start thinking, like, that we're doing a great job? Because then maybe our brain will start, like, wanting to confirm that. Is that how it works? I feel like that's how it works for, like, the
I believe
side,
it.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm, like, constantly thinking about how, like, oh, I'm doing such a great job, then I'd want to prove it to myself that I'm doing a great job.
Well, I think that has to do a lot with, like, affirmations, and I was using affirmations a lot over quarantine. I don't know why, because I feel like that's when I needed them the least.
No, but then it's like, quarantine was such a weird time. Like, I was working, so
I wasn't, though.
That's the thing, like, my brain was, like, preoccupied. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was still doing something, but I feel like for people that had all that time to themselves to, like, think, to, like, be with themselves, and especially if you're, like, I mean, I get it. Like, me personally, I feel like if I was left with my own thoughts, like, with just by myself, I would hate it. Because, like, there's that part of me, obviously, that, like, dislikes, like, parts of myself. And so if I were to be left alone with just my thoughts, then I'd be like, dude, you suck. Like, you need to stop. So I feel like that was definitely, like, a good time to, like, start that positive, like, affirmations. Because it was a weird time. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, but affirmations are a game changer. And I think for imposter syndrome specifically, and, like, mental health too and confidence, but telling yourself, I am, and then following it up with a positive truth about yourself and accepting that truth and living in your truth, that you are good enough, or I am this enough. Like, I don't even want to get into the word enough. Like, that word in and of itself is a hard one of, like, I'm not enough. Like, ooh, you know, but saying I am smart enough, or I deserve this, or just writing down affirmations, repeating them to yourself, and actually truly believing them. Like, if you have the capability of believing a negative lie about yourself, then you also have the capability of believing a good truth about yourself. So imagine imposter syndrome was a person sitting right there, right now. What do you tell them?
I thought it was like a hypothetical. I was like, anybody? Audience? Don't talk all at once. Thank you.
You see doubt standing there. What do you tell doubt? I'd be rude, honestly.
Dude, I was about to be like, you need to shut up. Like, I'm doing my thing. I need you to sit down and let me do it. Because I know I'm capable. I know I can do it.
Right.
In a big, like, this is a family-friendly thing. It's a family-friendly podcast.
In my head, I was like, what are you doing here? Yeah. Like, you're not helping at all. You're making this a lot more difficult. I need you to go, doubt, like, get out. Can you leave? Please just leave.
I'll see you later. Like, we can talk later, definitely, but not right now.
That too is like a huge thing, is like, address your doubt, address your imposter syndrome. Don't bury it.
And listen, I don't know where I heard that recently, but like putting a name, I think it's probably from the podcast, but like putting a name to that like negative thing inside of you and being like, hey, tone it down, like,
let's chat.
Yeah. Like, I'll sit with you later, but right now I need to do this, and I need it 100% just like focus on this. That's gonna be hard to do though. That's definitely gonna take a lot of like energy to separate yourself from that, because it's so easy to be like, that's me, because it's inside your head, so how can it not be your own thoughts?
Yeah,
you know,
it reminds me of this book, Untethered Soul, I think by Michael Singer, and he says, like, you are not your thoughts. Like, you have thoughts, but if you were to imagine yourself in your brain, imagine it like a hollow, like, black space, and that your thoughts are just words, like flying by, like, you are not them.
Yeah.
You have them. And that reminds me of something else, because I've done a lot of, like, research about, and I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But I've done a lot of research on, like, eating disorders, and one way of framing them, of saying instead, like, I am anorexic, you would say instead, like, I have anorexia nervosa.
Yes.
And, like, framing mental health, like, I am depressed. Like, no, that's not who you are. That is just a condition that you have. And that can be anything. Like,
recently having a talk with my siblings about that, because obviously I work with kids on the spectrum, and it's easy to be like an autistic child, and I was like, it's such a game changer when you put the person before what they have, because you are not what you have. Like, you are you. It just so happened that you have this extra thing, this extra baggage or whatever, and people don't, I feel like it's definitely a concept that people have recently, like, not recently, but like in recent years have had to learn to like change their language and how they speak, because it's so easy to get lost in what you have and separating yourself. Like, that's another thing, like separating yourself from that, because like you said, you are not your depression, you are not your anxiety, you have it, but it's not you, it doesn't define you. You know?
Yeah. Listen to what we're saying and like how much deeper it goes, that it's not just the way you say something, but also the way you view something, the way you internalize it, the way you materialize it, and
it's a message that it sends across.
Like, so just tying that all back to feeling inadequate and your imposter syndrome, it's not like I am an what did I just say? An inadequate person. I am a not good enough employee. No, it's I have areas of improvement.
Yes.
I have room to grow. I am not perfect, just like every other human being on this planet.
Yeah. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I don't have to get it right the first time. I don't have to get it right every time because, like you said, like we're human, we're not perfect. It's not always going to be good, but it's definitely a big thing to remember that, yes, you're going to have good days, but yes, you're also going to have good days, and that's just how life is, I guess.
You definitely said good days twice.
Did I really?
Yeah. So yes, you're going to have good days, and yes, you're going to have good days.
But you're also going to have
good days.
And overall, good days.
That's it. Anyways.
Anyways.
Sometimes I like to talk in a British accent. The word that always triggers it is literally. I literally cannot finish a sentence in my normal American accent if I say the word literally.
Why is your accent so good?
Bruv. I have no idea.